the benefit of real estate was the debt was so easy to get, and the tax advantages were so good on real estate that it just made so much sense from a cash on cash return. And one of those is absolutely gone in terms of debt being easy to get and being inexpensive. But, and let's say the tax things are still on the table for now. We'll see how long they stay there with changes in capital gains and those kinds of things. But let's assume that they stay there. What we have seen is just the opportunities that are on the market and the volume of buyers that are out there, including, by the way, retail buyers. So people who just want to buy a house to live in it, right? They are there, and they're always going to be willing to spend more than an investor is because they don't need to make margin on the sell side.
Hey everybody, we are here with another episode of Business Lunch with your hosts, Ryan Deiss, the inimitable, cannot be imitated Ryan Deiss, and me, completely imitable, Roland Frazier. Good to see you. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm great. I loved it. It's worth going to YouTube just to see. I'm pretty sure that was your son, Ryan Frazier, was behind you at one point, and you saw him crawl behind you. So he's like trying to not be seen, but you could definitely see him. It was amazing. So I'll just say, if you are not subscribed to this channel on YouTube, it's worth doing it just for that scene. For that scene. But no, I'm amazingly great because I got to see that. So thank you all for that level of entertainment.
It's hard to engineer these stunts on a regular basis to entertain everybody. But
exactly.
Thanks to Gemini, GPT, and Claude, we're able to put in there and say, what would be the most entertaining thing we could do? And they said, have somebody related to somebody that's on a podcast crawl under and behind a pool table. And
this is going to wind up like being in a talk of some like podcast growth hack or something like that. Some event.
Yeah, that's
like,
how
we figured it out.
That's the subliminal, advertising. I was talking to you earlier. So I was out in my driveway taking pictures of my car, which one of our friends said he wanted to buy. And
oh, really?
Yeah. My leases are up in August, and so I have been kind of thinking about that. And I was talking to Jaycron actually about it, and he had been kind of telling me over the last probably 2 years, saying, "Hey, listen, when it comes up, if you're not going to buy it out, I'm interested. Let me know." And so I was taking pictures and sending it to him, and and now I have 2 new cars.
Wait, before we move on, I need you to absolutely sell it to him because I just want to screw with him relentlessly. Because after he buys, he'll be like, "Oh, couldn't afford a new one, huh? Had to go with Roland sloppy seconds."
Yeah.
And I just by the way, I don't mean any of it. I just want to screw with them. So they can't get the full enjoyment out of what will almost certainly be a significant investment. You know why? Because that's what friends do for one another.
Yeah, that is what friends do. My son, Ryan, and his friends suggested that we buy something like Lindbergh cheese and put it underneath the holding, like under the hood where it could be warmed over time, but near an air conditioning vent so that it would, kind of ruminate through the car. I thought that was a good idea too.
You could also just like hide. I don't know how you'd get it, but I mean, let's say you were to find just some meth laying around.
Okay. Dark web. I would go to the dark web. That's
hide meth somewhere in the car and then put in an anonymous report so that the police come and search it. It would be hilarious. It'd be like,
that would be really funny.
Zing.
These are pranks that are good to play on your friends.
Good pranks. I love playing.
So anyway, I was there, and a couple walked by who I think Bob and Delarine, who are agents that are real estate agents here, primarily focused in the area that I live. And I hadn't talked to them in a while. I mean, actually, they've been really busy, and I have too. So I hadn't probably seen them in maybe as much as 2 years. They helped us sell one of our houses back right before all the prices of houses went through the roof. So, and then that house sold for $1 million more than we sold it for a year later. So that was, one more way in my book of ways not to make $1 million or more. that's coming out soon. Um, but anyway, I started talking to them and I said, hey, what's going on? And they were talking about what they were doing and everything. And then I said, so yeah, I mean, I'd love to get another place because I'd like to have a place that I could just have my studio and stuff in, but I don't want it in my house because it's going to it's going to be too businessy, too industrial. It's not going to look pretty. I have wires everywhere and all that. But I got to get interest rates come down, or house prices go down. I said, what do you think of this? And they said, no, this is the new normal. Now, I will tell you that everyone who's in construction and real estate always thinks prices are going up and never going down, in my experience. So when things are at their peak, very often that's how it's going to be forever, and it's going to continue to grow. So I don't know if that's what will happen or not, but they said this is the new normal. The prices were suppressed before. I think that what you generally hear in the market bears that that's probably the case. So what I started thinking about was, and we were talking about business versus real estate, and I just to me right now, as expensive as it is, because they were talking about, they like to say it's like a legal waterboarding to get approved for a loan for real estate these days. And they said I've never written so many explanation letters for every single thing that I bought over the last year. It's kind of crazy what
Is
they
that
make
with
you go through.
is that with investment property specifically, or is it for your
Everything,
your main
everything,
homestead, everything?
everything. Yeah,
Is this because just of all the going back to 2008, 2009 shenanigans? Because I feel
yeah,
like, okay,
yeah,
I can tell you
yeah,
this. I know even just getting a business bank account fundamentally requires like a proctology examination. I mean, the
yeah,
KYC laws and all of this other stuff is so arduous just to open a freaking checking account. So I can't
yeah.
even. I mean, thank God I haven't bought a house in a while, so I haven't had to go through this. But so that makes sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense that it's happening.
Yeah. So what I was, it just kind of got me to thinking, and you and I were chatting about it briefly before we decided that we would talk about this on the show. But it's kind of interesting because really it's twice as expensive because of interest rates more than doubling to get half as much value because the value of so many things have doubled and or at least increased by 50% or more over time. So you're paying double the rate to get half the stuff. So effectively, you get a quarter what you used to get. So if you think about that, and then you say, well, what are the other things that I can do to invest in? And I know that a lot of our friends who are in the real estate education business, the real estate flipping business, the real estate wholesaling business, are having a hard time because there just aren't the deals out there, and because money's too expensive, and because there's not enough profit in the house because everything is selling for so much and they can't buy it at those high prices and then sell it for enough more to make it make sense to have held it and fixed it during that time. Not to say there's no opportunity ever, because there's always opportunity, but it's significantly less than it used to be for now. So during that time, to me, it's like, what are the other things that you can do with your money? And it kind of comes back to, I have not seen that happen with businesses. In terms of buying businesses, there are still lots of motivated sellers who don't have a mature, efficient market full of buyers ready, willing, and able to buy, that are sitting there looking for the opportunity to bid for the right to buy their business. And so, like, if I'm comparing the real estate investment options to the business buying options, and I'm in both, so I like, and you are too, right? So I like talking about it with somebody that's not completely biased. It just seems like if you're looking for stuff to do right now, I mean, I am having a hard time finding real estate that makes sense to do. And I'm not having any problem at all finding business deals to do. So I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that.
Well, really, I've done some real estate deals. The thing about real estate is you either need to buy and hold and just wait for the market to go up, as it generally does over a long enough period of time. If you if you have any sense of what you're doing and you have patience, it's really hard not to make money in investing. I mean, that's what Warren Buffett has proven. And not to say that
I'm not really about the making money as much as that it costs so much. Like if you look at the efficiency of your capital to get a return
yeah,
on what
just
you
like the
got.
cash on cash return. Yeah. What is a
Yeah,
return on invested capital? Right. That's kind of
yeah,
what we're talking about. And that's the issue right now and has always been my issue. I guess the benefit of real estate was it was the debt was so easy to get and the tax advantages were so good on real estate that it just made so much sense from a cash on cash return. And one of those is absolutely gone in terms of
yeah,
debt being easy to get and being inexpensive. But and let's say the tax things are still on the table for now. We'll see how long they stay there with changes in capital gains and those kinds of things. But let's assume that they stay there. What we have seen is just the opportunities that are on the market and the volume of buyers that are out there, including, by the way, retail buyers. So
yeah,
people who just want to buy a house to live in it, right? They are there and they're always going to be willing to spend more than an
yeah.
investor is because they don't need to make margin on the sell side. They
Right,
just need a
right,
roof over their head. And so
right.
that's what you're competing against in real estate. You're competing against a retail buyer.
Yeah.
Now,
And by the
if you
way,
could,
we're just talking really residential real estate here. We're not talking about commercial and multifamily and all that.
sure, yeah, I don't know anything about. I mean, full disclosure, I've done some residential stuff. I haven't done much in the way of commercial, multifamily, or anything like that. But I have friends who do, and they're saying similar things,
Yeah.
especially from an interest rate perspective and the cost and what it takes going into it, because what you actually have there is less demand.